Good morning, my brothers and sisters. If God's greatness is unsearchable, should I still search? We're going to get this from Psalm 145. So today's quest is going to be a search for the greatness of God. So it's going to be an assessment first, and then it's going to be an accounting. So it'll be a count it first and then account it later. In a way, we're going to do a little bit of a forensic accounting of the Lord. So God is going to receive an audit, a valuing, and then a reporting. So at first blush, David, who's doing Psalm 145, he seems over the top, and this is like an over the top psalm for an over the top God. Now, perhaps though, he is setting his mind and mouth right before God. So my question for myself was, well, maybe it's really not over the top. What if it's right? What if he's throwing strikes here? What if it's perfectly accurate? Or contrary, the psalm is important because either it's true or not. And if it isn't true, if it's not true, then God is not worth worshiping, or perhaps we're not supposed to search. So we probably should get the searching of God correct. So is God's greatness unsearchable, and what do we mean by that? Let's go to Psalm 145 and get this search started. It's titled Great is the Lord. It's a song of praise of David. And it starts verse 1. I will extol you, my God and King, and bless your name forever and ever. Every day I will bless you and praise your name forever and ever. Verse 3. Great is the Lord and greatly to be praised, and his greatness is unsearchable. Let me say that again and again. God's greatness is unsearchable. David says God's greatness is unsearchable, but we're going to try here. So what does it mean to be unsearchable? Unsearchable does not mean we do not search. Unsearchable means that when we are done with our search, when we come to the limit of our search, we find that there's more greatness ahead of us than behind us. So unsearchable means that when we're done with our search, there's still more greatness ahead to find. So his greatness is unsearchable. So therefore, if you're going to do this thing with God, have a relationship with God, which I welcome you to, and if you don't have one, I invite you to ask him into your heart today. So if you're going to have a relationship with God, you are eventually going to have to address, or you should be addressing, the greatness of God. You must ask, how great is God? So David is not the only person in the Bible to ask this. Job asked this in Job chapter 5, verse 8. He says, as for me, I would seek God, and to God I would commit my cause, who does great things and unsearchable, marvelous things without number. And then just after this, he starts to number them. He talks about giving rain and physical stuff to the earth. And then he sets on high the lowly, and those who mourn are lifted to safety. He frustrates those who are crafty, and schemes of the wily are brought to a quick end. He saves the needy from the hand of the mighty. And then verse 17, behold, blessed is the one whom God reproves. Therefore, despise not the discipline of the Almighty. So he's even saying that the greatness of God is experienced by the discipline of God. Okay, so if the greatness of God is too much to comprehend, what should my response be? Should I throw my hands up in the air so this search for greatness tizzy and say it just can't be done? Or should I do this almost like an accountant? First take a count, and then make an accounting, make a report, and then resume the search for God's greatness. That is, take another step. After we assess where we are, go just a little bit further. So if I know that the ultimate number of God's greatness is infinite, should I stop enumerating them now? So just stay with me for this for a second. So let's say God's greatness is 1 trillion in number, and my finite brain can only search to 1 million. Well, does that mean I don't search for the greatness of God? No. Every man should, and perhaps there's something to be gained in doing this, to make this accounting, preparing a report, searching for what I know about the greatness of God, and then going a little bit more. And let's look at this from God's perspective for just a second. Does God like it when we search for him? Would it please him to find us searching for the greatness of God? So if we pictured this as a journey in physical exploration, how would God respond? I think he'd be pleased. So if God is really great, he knows it. He really wants to be accurately known, and he's pleased with the counting. He's pleased in the accounting and then the reporting. So every man, every woman should account for the greatness of God. Now, Paul found this in the greatness of God, unsearchable and just beyond, or maybe way beyond, in Romans chapter 11, verse 33. He declares, oh, the depth and riches and wisdom and knowledge of God, how unsearchable are his judgments and how inscrutable his ways. So Paul found God's riches to beyond his finite searching. And then later in Ephesians chapter 3, to me, though I am the very least of all the saints, this grace was given to preach to the Gentiles what? The unsearchable riches of Christ. So back to Job chapter 5, verse 9, who does great things and unsearchable, marvelous things without number. Though when we look at God's greatness, we will find it beyond number, it doesn't mean that we should not be counting. Your greatness is unsearchable, and I'm going to start right now. Unsearchable doesn't mean we do not search. Unsearchable means that when we are done with our search, there's more greatness to be found ahead of us than behind. Go search for him today. Thanks for listening.